Wednesday, everyone. I am Brian Kilmeade. As you can see, I'm sitting in a normal chair, not one of the small ones, custom crafted to fit Greg's abnormally childlike frame. I'm a full-grown adult. We also had the stage crew remove the sippy cup because I don't spill, unlike the normal host who's not anything but normal. And most people don't know this, but I'm actually thrilled to be here. My whole life, I love late-night TV. You guys remember late-night TV when it was great? Steve Allen, Johnny Carson, Jay Leno. That's what we grew up watching. For example, when I was an intern across the street at 30 Rock, I interviewed David Letterman before he had his beard and when he used to be funny. I gave him that T-shirt, so for me to be here on the #1 late night show is truly an honor, and I'm honored to be with the panel you have yet to meet. A lot of people don't know that, but David Letterman just opened up to his biographer, and he quoted, if I can just quote him exactly, if we can roll back the prompter, he said, that was the moment and the one highlight of my career I will never forget, close quote. I made that up, and I could be sued. But it's no secret, I co-host Fox and Friends, the #1 morning show in all of cable news. And because of that, I gotta confess, I don't really watch this show. In fact, I did not even know Greg was full-time and had a show of his own. Gutfeld is on when I am fast asleep. I don't wake up until like 2:30, and I understand Greg talks about me a lot. I don't know exactly what he says, but I have a few clips if we can watch together.
So never let a crisis go to waste. A phrase coined by Kilmeade's barber. His male pattern baldness is in the shape of Belarus. Like Brian Kilmeade's fleas, that's a head scratcher. Like Kilmeade's doll collection, does make me sad. It's like when Kilmeade enters a crowded elevator. They treat him like he's got monkeypox. It's likely someone no one can stand. I'd call them creeps, but why offend Brian Kilmeade? This is good news for lazy, incompetent workers. If you're gonna force employees to wear patches, just make sure it's for a cause that everyone can support.
That wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. Well, that hurt more than when Greg reached up and hit me in the shin one time we got married. But I can take it. I'm a big boy, unlike him. And it's an honor to be the first non-cast member to guest host this week, because Kat and Tyrus were unbelievable Monday and Tuesday. I am told, according to reports, I am told I was on the top of the list, and obviously that's true. And we even got some behind-the-scenes footage of the selection process, so this is kind of cool. Let's watch.
Listen, guys, it's Wednesday afternoon. We still don't have a guest host for tonight. Anything?
I'm sorry. I thought Brian Stelter couldn't say no.
Well, look, whoever we get, remember what Greg always says, you got to treat him with dignity and respect. I know. Look, I thought of some other names here. Martha McCallum.
Dentist appointment.
Bill Hemmer.
Dog's dentist appointment.
Maybe we need to think outside the box, like, I don't know, like a Chris Cuomo. Nah. You know, Greg has that emergency guest host envelope. I just can never remember where he keeps it.
Probably somewhere no one would ever look. Oh, wait a minute. I know someone who's definitely available. Hey, Brian! What do you think about hosting this show today? Yes, you are our first choice.
I found Greg's envelope.
Anyone but Kilmeade.
Well, hey, at least we have the judge tonight, right?
Good thing I had high self-esteem before the show. Too late, you're stuck with me, so let's do this thing. Let's talk about the big story of the day, which is President Biden, in his desperate attempt to get votes, forgave a $300 billion loan program. It's a campaign scheme to get Democrats reelected in November, to me, also known as the Student Loan Forgiveness Program, or as the colleges call it, Bribery 101. In between naps, potty breaks, and ice cream cones with sprinkles, the president found time to announce a huge deal to throw free money at tens of thousands of young Americans. Yep, the way his son threw cash at tens of thousands of strippers, and might have done that already today. And just in time for the midterms, too, the liberal media, well, they're eating it up, like they were Brian Stelter having his last meal at the CNN cafeteria.
President Biden acknowledging, in his words, that a ticket to college has gotten too expensive and pointing out he is keeping a key campaign pledge.
He told a really, I thought, heartrending story about why it is personally so important to him. His family could not afford to send him to college, and he talked about how his father felt ashamed.
This is yet another victory for the president and his supporters, and as you note, in your view, for the rest of the country as a whole, take off your political hat on that front. Everyone would like to have their loans paid down and go to college.
We're doomed. The plan calls for a one-time maximum debt forgiveness of $10,000 for borrowers who make less than $125,000 and up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. And it will cost you, the American taxpayer, yes, everyone in this audience, $300 billion. Is there any mathematician in the White House? The plan also extends a repayment pause through the end of the year, so don't worry about not making your payments until December. But who's really going to benefit from Biden's plan? The upper-class Democratic voting bloc, while blue-collar workers who actually have skills get shafted. So if you pay your bills and live within your means and pay off your loans, you, ladies and gentlemen, are a sucker. But the president sees no problem with that. In his delusional world, it is fair.
Mr. President, is this unfair to people who paid their student loans or chose not to take out loans?
Is it fair to people who, in fact, do not own multi-billion-dollar businesses that see why these guys get them all tax breaks? Is that fair? What do you think?
Does that make any sense to anybody in this room? The president getting a little feisty out there. He's always angry. I'm not sure why. The Cato Institute, my favorite institute, by the way, lays this out. It says there are several reasons federal student debt cancellation is a bad idea. First, it helps the winners, those who made the decision to go out to outrageously overpriced colleges and get a degree. And the higher the degree they earned, the more money they will make and supposed to pay off their debts. Wouldn't you think that? It's not like those doctors will give you a rebate when your colonoscopy pays for their Mercedes. Follow that for a second. There's no coupon available. It's also regressive, as more of the aid would go to the highest earners than the lowest. Again, giving money back to those who need it the least. How does that make sense? Not to mention the huge cost to taxpayers, and that's more reckless than Paul Pelosi entering the Indy 500. Thank you, Jesse Waters. Now, if President Biden decides later to cancel at $50,000 per borrower, it would cost taxpayers $1 trillion. And for giving the entire amount, $1.6 trillion. Further, the student loan handouts would incentivize greater inflation, since neither universities nor future students would believe future loans would have to be repaid, like today's freshmen. And Cato also calls the legality of the Biden decision, noting that the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power of the purse, which is especially frightening given the president doesn't have power over his own bladder, for the most part. As usual, the right-wing extremists are putting down the president. Cue it.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. The president can't do it. So that's not even a discussion.
Yep. When you lose Nancy Pelosi, you lose everybody. And let's talk about the real problem here, college costs. They have soared multiple times, the rate of inflation over the past century, and the costs just keep going up. It's not like the graduates are getting smarter. If they were, they wouldn't complain about pronouns. Am I correct? They'd complain about the interest rates in our country, perhaps. I mean, take a look at this chart of private school costs over the years. Lots of numbers, lots of bars, all going in the wrong direction. And public schools, no better. Also cost an arm and a leg. You can't argue with charts. They're put together by mathematicians, statisticians, and estheticians. Oh, wait. I got confused. I'm talking about the good people who put together Nancy Pelosi's face every day. The point is, college costs are a lot of money, and they have endowments in the hundreds of billions of dollars, but not when you're a college inflating costs, knowing it goes past the taxpayer. So Biden has made good on his promise to partially wipe out student loan debt, but not everybody's happy, and you knew it was a matter of time before it would turn into a race issue. Woke educator Nina Turner tweeting this out, canceling $10,000 in student debt when the average white borrower is $12,000 in debt, while black women hold over $52,000 in debt is just unacceptable. It is, drum roll please, structural racism. I'm old enough to remember when Biden and the Democrats passed the Inflation Reduction Act, or as they privately call it, the Take the Money and Run Act. Bottom line is, the Wall Street Journal nailed it when they said it would benefit the spendthrift over the responsible. It's vote buying at its most raw. That pretty much sums it up. Cash for votes, which is only slightly less annoying than cars for kids.
1-877 cars for kids. KARS cars for kids.
Give your car away.
Sorry about that. It's going to be in your head the rest of the day. But it also seems unethical to me, although what do you expect from the President of the United States? Remember, you're low on cash, you can always join a Chinese gas company's board of directors. Just tell them the big guy sent you. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She's the only judge who owns her own who does her own executions. Co-host of The Five, Judge Janine Pirro. She's fired up today. He's our favorite Charlie after Brown and Horse. Fox News contributor, Washington Times editor. Charlie Hurt is with us live. It ain't laundry day, so she can't pretend it's blankets, not booze, that have her 3 sheets to the wind. Fox News contributor Kat Tim, barely sober. I'm not sure what that meant. It made a lot of sense in rehearsal. Sorry, Kat. He grabs bulls by the horns and Greg by his underwear. The NAA's world television champion, Tyrus, welcome. That's our show. Thanks for joining us. That was the longest open I've ever had. Yeah. That is like 5 Fox and Friends.
Fox and Friends, you have 11 stories in that.
Sorry, Kat. I'm going to spend the whole show making up for your introduction. Tyrus, let's start with you. Is loan forgiveness racism?
Wow, I like you already. Wow, that's great. Greg never picks
right.
I didn't know.
Yeah, wow, it's amazing. Kilmeade's all right, man. Yeah.
I also liked your book, so that's
Yes, you did. You actually read it. He's the great enabler in chief. This is what he does, man. He's a bad parent, as we talked about with Hunter, and it's the same policies with how he governs. He throws money on things. Although in this case, this is a boomerang thing. It's like a rebate for donations. So the people that supported him, they're going to get a nice little check for their spoiled brats who are still living at home because their Ferrari needs new stuff. So this goes back to just it's so frustrating. But this is the best thing for the American working class people when they go to the ballot box in November. They're going to be like, wow, he is not for us at all. He is about himself. This is always about the elite. These are first world problems. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I couldn't pay my student loan when I got out of college, and I just had a Pell Grant. So I didn't pay it for like 10 years and worked. In fact, I answered the phone. Hola, ¿cómo está? No, click. No, he's not here. I was on the lam. I ran. I built my stuff up. I got myself together, and then eventually they call and say, hello, yeah, I'd like to make a payment today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of us were forced to do, or the ones who just paid it. Right. Or even worse, the moms and dads who didn't go on vacations, didn't buy the new car, didn't have the amazing Christmases, that put the money away, that sacrificed so they could put their kids through college. So what are you telling them?
That's a good
I know
point.
what you're telling them.
I feel bad for the other panelists because I don't know if they can match that analysis. Do you still want to try, or do you want to call it a day? Kat, here's what Jason Furman said, Treasury advisor to Obama as well as Biden. Pouring roughly $500 billion of gasoline into the inflationary fire that is already burning is reckless. Doing it while going beyond our one campaign promise of $10,000 and breaking another proposal so it's paid for is even worse. His own side is complaining about this.
Yep. Yeah, obviously. I mean, I'm just starting to think Biden just loves inflation. Because I don't understand what other explanation for that is there. And I get sick of calling it forgiveness or cancellation because it's not that. It's just stealing from other people is all it is. And I also paid off my student loans. I also struggled for years after college. But what people say often is they say, okay, well, just because you suffered, do you want other people to suffer? Yeah. But they don't understand that actually by doing this, you're making people in the future suffer too, because the price of college is going to go up even further. That's how this all started, that it got so expensive, was the government. It's going to get even worse.
So, Charlie, it's the 19 to 22-year-olds or the 25-year-olds get this student loan forgiveness. What if you're 38 and just finished paying it off? What if you're 45, 52, and you go, wait a second, well, I am an idiot for making my payments, and if I'm a freshman, why do I think that I'm going to have to pay that loan back?
Well, at the heart of it, it is fundamentally unfair, and that's why I think that's what sticks in the craw of so many people, especially people who have worked so hard to do that. Let's not forget what this is. What this is, this is a bailout of colleges and universities that colleges and universities don't need. You know, Harvard has a $31 billion endowment. And they're not alone. That might be the largest, but they all are rolling in cash. And Kat's exactly right. The reason that college is so expensive is because throughout this entire scam, college tuition loan scam, the federal government has been the bookie at every step of the way, and they get their cut. And so for Biden to do this is rewarding the system. And Kat's exactly right. You think tuition's going to go down next year? No, tuition's going to go up, and it's going to go up because of this.
And interest rates are through the roof. Some of these loans are 10%. I mean, that's almost criminal. That's a loan shark.
That is a loan shark. But you know what's interesting about this? As you say, college tuition is going up not in terms of inflation, but the same way that the loans are going up. So it's almost like there's this scam that's going on where we're going to indoctrinate your kids. We're going to make sure that your kids believe in socialism. It's almost like this socialist contract between the government and education, and then we're going to forgive the loan in the end for the people who are rich and don't need it. By the way, if we have such a great economy, why are we giving these people money? It's not like they can't go out and get a job. And the bottom line is this: you want to give money away? Give money to the veterans. Give money to the senior citizens who can't afford to go out and get what they want. And in the end, what they're doing is Joe Biden knows that he's unpopular with kids and young people. 53% of people under the age of 35 disapprove of him, so he's paying them to vote for him. And it's disgusting. And by the way, if you got a contract, you sign it, you agree to pay it back, and if you don't pay it back, don't worry about it. We'll pay it back for you. That's not the America that we were raised in.
Bro, you can't do it. And remember, you have those monthly payments, and if you have to take a pause, you go to the bank, unlike Tyrus, who speaks another language. You call the bank, go, listen, I need a pause. Yeah, it did. And you wait 18 months, you come back, and you're paying more, but at the end of the day, you made your payments, and that's it. It's called setting up a credit rating, too. Then when you go to take out a loan to maybe get a car or something, then you have a foundation to build on. But that's what we have today. Elizabeth Warren's happy. Most of America isn't. Before we go, I'd love to see you on my tour. I'm going to be on stage. Go to BrianKilmeade.com. I'll be at a place called The Egg. It sounds prestigious, up in Albany. And then I'm going over to Tulsa, Oklahoma. That'll be on November 13th, so a little bit of a pause, and over in Mississippi and Brandon. So I'll see you all there.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.